and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anna. I'm a Reiki Master Practitioner. I also love ASMR, and I think that the two are a really lovely pairing. So for today's session, I wanted to just show you some ways that you can emotionally regulate and realign when you are in a very activated state. Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. May is a month to raise awareness, fight stigma, and provide support for anyone struggling with their mental health. This year's theme is Together for Mental Health, sharing personal stories in hopes of encouraging others to prioritize their mental health. So I'd like to share a personal story. A few years ago, I had a lot going on. I was planning my wedding, touring the country with a play I'd written, and then a few days before the wedding, my mother passed away. And a few weeks later, I received some really tough news, and it was a really intense time. I started seeing a therapist, and I can't tell you how impactful it has been on my life. Having a reliable support system in place is incredibly important and empowering. Another theme of Mental Health Month is advocating for access to mental health care. This has long been one of BetterHelp's goals, and one of the reasons I love partnering with them. They offer customized online therapy that includes video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. BetterHelp is more affordable than traditional offline therapy. You can apply for financial aid during the sign-up process, and they accept HSA benefits. There is a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network that gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions, plus you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can request a new therapist at no additional charge anytime, which I think is incredible. Use my link to get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/ReikiWithAnna. That's better, HELP, or head to the link down below. This Mental Health Month, if you or someone you know is struggling, please share BetterHelp with them. Now back to the video. So if you are watching this and you are feeling very angry, maybe irritable, if you're feeling irascible or easily incensed, my intention for this session is to provide you with sort of like a tool basket. Different tools that you can use to help you to realign, help to soothe your overactivated state, and to kind of emotionally regulate. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I'm not a mental health care professional, I'm a Reiki master. However, these I thought would be hopefully some nice sounds, and also just to start a conversation about different ways that we can regulate when we are in heightened states. I often find that when I'm in a heightened state, the last thing that will bring me back to a sense of alignment is doing something on the other end of the spectrum. So if you're feeling very activated, agitated, maybe very angry, just a very kind of hot, heated, fiery energy, to go back to a sort of water energy, feeling a bit cooler, to regulate in a way that would kind of put you at the other end of the spectrum. So if you're moving from a place of anger to move from a place of love, that's a pretty wide gap. And so I think that it's quite difficult to go from one to the other. So what I find helpful is to very with intention and with a sense of sort of disconnection from the specific event, engage in a series of different activities to help you express that anger. In the sense we mean express, but just to get it out of your body, out of your physical body, out of your mental plane, out of your energy body, just to kind of exercise that. And ways that we can do this involve certain physical movement. You can engage in chanting. We can use sound vibration. There are also a few different tools that I'd like to share here today that are a little bit different, a little bit more quirky. So we're going to start with a few different types of kind of, we'll call them scrunchable paper products. I have this brown packing paper. I have some wax paper. And I have this tissue paper. This tissue paper came from a gift I was given. But it's kind of a perfect one for this kind of thing. I wanted to try to use things that you might be able to get your hands on. This is based on one of your requests for how do I move through anger. It was something like that. I can't remember the exact request, but I wrote it down, like all of them, all of your amazing requests. And it was like, how do you have any tips for dealing with anger, moving through anger? And I wanted to just provide a few different tools that you'll be able to hopefully get your hands on pretty quickly and easily. So we'll start with our paper products. Some of these might seem a little bit silly, and some of these might not work for you, but these might be nice just to kind of add to your toolbox if you are someone who maybe gets easily irritable. Maybe during even your monthly cycle, you get a little bit more irritable. If that doesn't apply to you, that's fine. Maybe you just find yourself getting a little bit angry from time to time, and you just want something to help you move through it in a healthier way. So if you are starting to recognize that you're dipping into an angry or irritable state, or maybe you've woken up feeling a little bit angry or irritable, the moment that we start feeling kind of triggered, that moment, the tipping point moment, where we feel like we're going to go into a state where we don't have agency over what we're doing, where we're not being as intentional about how we're moving through this anger, how we're expressing our anger perhaps, it can be helpful to just sort of take a step back and have a little space to go to. Whether that's a little basket that you have these in, or a box, or you keep them in a little drawer. And I'm going to try to do things a little bit more relaxing for you, so that it doesn't feel triggering if you're not in that state, and because I want this to be a relaxing session, ASMR style session. But if you are in this really activated state, a lot of these things, rather than doing them slowly, you probably want to be doing them quicker, and the action would probably be a bit firmer than I'll be doing them today. So one of the objectives when we're feeling really triggered is to get out of our heads, not disconnect from ourselves or our bodies or our understanding of the experience, but just to kind of disconnect the thought, perhaps, that might be trying to speak to you about the circumstance. So the thought that could be, start with, I'm so angry right now. I'm so angry. That could then lead to, I'm a bad person, or I always get angry, or why can't this happen, or they didn't do this, and then it brings you right back into that really highly activated state that we're trying to soothe. So we just want to kind of stop the thought at, I am feeling angry right now. Very important to recognize what we're feeling and to say, I am feeling this way. But then it's about what we do with that understanding. So I am feeling angry right now. I'm feeling very triggered right now. That can be a helpful one, especially if we're communicating that to someone else. You know what? I need to take a minute. I'm feeling a little triggered. I'm gonna go be with my tool basket. I'm gonna go be by myself for a minute. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go excuse myself for just a moment. And that can be really helpful way to begin this process, but it is about recognizing what we're feeling in the first place in order to then cope with that feeling. So I'll show you this with each of the different types of paper, and hopefully there are some relaxing sounds here. So let's say you're very irritated, you're very irascible, maybe you're feeling very tense and angry. You reach in your basket, you pull out some tissue paper. So what you can do is you can start to very gently crumple it in your hand, and then start to go a little bit faster and a little bit firmer. hopefully you get the idea. It's really about trying our best to take this swirling, activated energy that just wants to be let out and finding a healthy way of releasing it. So I'll do it once a little bit faster with each one. And while you're doing this, finding things that you can put your full attention on. That's why very often when we're angry, we want to clean something, do the dishes, go outside, maybe garden or do some maintenance stuff, fixing things, go out into the workshop and start hammering away, whatever it might be. What we want to do is express this and allow our minds and our bodies to connect with one another so that we can sort of move into something that's occupying that mental space until we're in a more aligned space to deal with it. So now you're feeling a little activated, you're feeling a little bit triggered. We'll do it a little bit faster. So that was our first one. This one's going to be a little bit louder. We'll get more into this in a minute, but another aspect of this is matching breath with action. So you can definitely use your breath in this way. You can even vocalize. Find vocalizing really helpful. One thing to maybe try is when you're doing the faster motion to let out and exhale, and you can even let it out on some sort of vocalization. You can use, I like to use zh, 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 like mirage or garage. Sort of similar to shh, but with vocalization. So I'll show you that. So again, we'll start out slow and then we'll move more quickly. With this, I think we'll treat it more like an accordion. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to do the sound along with it because I think this might be too loud. But the sound that you're going to do, I'll just do the motion. Okay. I can try to do it, but I think it might be too loud. So I have here some wax paper and I'm going to be using this for our last crumpling. So we can fold and use maybe our nail, either the surface of our nail or the tip of our nail, to run along the crease. We could try doing that with an exhalation. Or we could crumple. Starting out slow. Again. We'll do one very quick, okay? Very firm. Those are our paper tools. Why don't we put them in our basket? We'll build this basket together here. Now, out of our basket, we're going to pull a piece of fabric. This is a Turkish towel, and we're going to be using this in much the same way. For this, it has a very tight weave. It's something that we can pull either a little corner of the fabric, or we can take the entire thing and pull. Again, you want to do it on your exhale. So if you're very activated, that pulling sensation can help us to express all of that tense held energy, I believe. And then the release can hopefully help you recognize that you are slowly starting to realign. Another thing that you can do with fabric is you can do tight, sharp pulling motions like this. This one can be quite easy because when you are in a heightened state, if you're somewhere, usually you can find, if it's a piece of your own clothing, or if it's, you excuse yourself to the bathroom, is an easy way to get kind of in a private situation if you're feeling very triggered and activated. So finding a towel might be an easy thing for you to get a hold of in a moment where you're feeling very triggered. When you are feeling triggered, if you're in that situation right now, just know that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean anything like that. Emotions, they happen. Emotions happen. And they just are something to either learn from or move through. But don't believe everything you feel, don't believe everything you think, and try your best to give yourself some grace and some kindness if you're in an activated state. There's nothing wrong with that. Feeling an emotion, there's nothing bad, wrong about that. It's how we choose to act in that emotion, how we choose to move through that emotion. That's really what kind of carves our character, and we can slowly start to come up with these mechanisms that work for us. Maybe you try a handful of these and only one works. Well, great, then you know that that's going to work for you, and just keep trying new things, okay? So this is one to maybe give a try. That sharp movement, along with or okay. We'll pop this in here. Okay, What do I want to do next? Oh yeah, I have some of these. These are actually pussy willow twigs that I found on my property. I'll show you them. I recently moved to this property, so the fun thing about that is as life begins to creep back into all these plants, and it means that I get to meet all of these beautiful plants for the first time. I can show you up close. Obviously, you don't need a pussy willow twig for this. Anything that's safe, I'm trying to do things that are all quite safe, that you will be able to break. I just think these are so nice and sweet, and I wanted to show you them anyway. But I'll break some of them that already have a little bit of where most of the little fluffy cotton buds have fallen off or not yet bloomed. Budded out, I guess. So I'm gonna take this and this could be something I was thinking about in terms of accessibility. One thing that's really helpful is to just physically remove yourself from the place that you are, if that's at all possible. It's not always possible when we're triggered. Sometimes we're triggered at work, sometimes we're triggered in a situation where we're not able to leave. If you are able to leave, a simple walk outside, a simple just movement from where you are to outside or to another space, to another physical location, can help tremendously with our outlook. It can help tremendously with our energy levels, I find. So while you're on one of these walks, if that's available to you, if you find one of these, you can pop it in your little toolbox. Or if you're on a walk, you can use this time to then find a stick and go ahead and start to break it up. And while we're doing this, we can just sort of envision this energy kind of coming out through that point. So if you want to imagine that as you break it, smoke, kind of like a little puff of smoke, comes out at that breaking point, so that you're putting your energy into this space. It's being focused and driven outward. Okay? So I actually cracked the pussy willow twigs, and they didn't really make a good sound. They're too young. They haven't dried out yet enough. So I got some of these sticks from my property, hoping that these will make a little bit of a better sound here. Okay. So I'll just take a few at a time. So just imagine like smoke, that anger is evaporating. So in each one you want to just exhale like we did, like we've been doing. Good. Okay. Next, if you have something that you're able to kind of roll up, this can be a helpful one, whether that's a piece of fabric, if that's a little piece of yarn or whatever it might be, if you can roll it up maybe counting the rolls so that you're being very gentle with your mind and making sure that you're putting that attention on whatever the object is. And then what you're going to do is take it by the one side, grip it in the other hand. You're going to unfurl it with a very rapid motion, okay? So same, you want to exhale on the action and just imagine all this energy that's inside of you coming out through this unfurling process. Just okay. Do it again. I'd love to hear if you have any that you use. I have only a video on anger here. That one's slightly different. And when I talked about when I am in an angry state, I have a piece of twine usually or some kind of rope, and I will tie a knot in that rope to represent whatever it is that I'm angry about, so that it's focused in that little knot. And then usually on the full moon I will untie that knot, and then I will burn some sage, and at that time I'll reflect on it and see if it's something that I need to readdress after some time has passed. But very often we still need to express whatever made us angry. This isn't in place of that expression. This is developing a ritual, developing a space, developing a practice where we can realign in moments of overactivation. Realign so that we can approach this situation, challenge, whatever it might be, from a more aligned space, from a place of intention. And I think once we do that, when we're in alignment, when we express ourselves, express our needs, express our anger, we're more likely to be received in a way that allows or invites more space for change. So when you are in an aligned state, you can start to recognize how you want to engage with another human being. Sometimes with that understanding that I can't control other people, nor do I want to. What I can control is my actions. I can set stronger boundaries. I can maybe limit the amount of time I spend with that individual, or I can kind of try to make things different in a way, or I can start to regulate the way that I behave around that individual, whatever is possible for you and helpful for you. So we'll do this one more time. One second. My little basket here. And I think I actually have some what I was hoping to find in here. Let me just double check. This is my mom's old sewing kit. So I was hoping to find a bit of velcro. Velcro is great for this. So we want to still be engaging in something active, activating, like I said. I don't know when this Velcro is from, but I feel like it might be from a long time ago. That's alright. Okay. So we're going to connect these two pieces. Okay. So now we're going to inhale all of those feelings, and then as we exhale, we will pull them apart. I'm going to do this a little bit slower, but imagine that there's smoke coming out as you pull them apart, so that focused energy is just swirling out of you and being expressed, okay? I don't know if that was satisfying for you, but that was really satisfying for me. Okay, we'll do it one more time. Okay. It's like all this dust coming out. Little particles. Okay. So we'll pop this in here. So now I just wanted to talk about some different stones that you could use. One of my favorite stones to use that kind of matches this activated state, but also helps with clearing and helps with not attaching to that emotion or the end of that sentence of I'm so angry because I'm whatever, is selenite. I think this is a great stone if you're feeling activated. Everybody's different, obviously. So some people might find selenite a bit too activating when you are in that state. But for me, selenite is a great one because it kind of has that very heightened energy to it. But it's a clearing stone. You're not putting any of your energy into the stone and letting it sit there. It's self-cleansing. So it's just going to show up as its beautiful self. It's not going to take on any of your energy. It's a great one for just inviting in some uplifting, cleansing energy, and if you're in that kind of state. Very often for me, my anger is stuck here in my throat. My throat starts to close up. Sometimes I get it in my tummy, but very often it's in my throat. So what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of cleansing here in the throat chakra. And while you're doing that, you could engage in some chanting. There's some chants that are wonderful for anger. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. Om Shanti Om. So I think selenite is great something that's going to align you with the divine energy. Something like amethyst would be great. It's a great stone of mental sobriety, so this would be a great one just to kind of hold, just to invite into the space. Some might say it's a little bit too activating if you're already in an activated state. If that's the case, that's fine, leave it. You could always use something a little bit more gentle. You could use a rose quartz. You could use blue lace agate or something like that, just to help bring you to a more relaxed state. Something like an angelite, or I'd probably say an angelite. Something like an angelite would help you if you wanted to connect with your guides and just call in assistance, call in benevolent guides to help you move through this. Those are a few. While I think we often hold anger in our root chakra and our base chakra, so I wouldn't suggest to use any red stones or work with any red as a color at this time. Some stones that I would recommend would be petrified wood. I think this can be great for helping us ground, but it's not going to tether us to the earth realm. It's more of a gentle grounding feeling. And there's a gentle quality to us. It really helps us have roots. It helps us to center. And something like a septarian, this would be great for just understanding that our boundaries are valid and valuable. That very often when we're angry, it might be because one of our boundaries has been crossed. It might be because we're feeling another emotion that we don't want to sit with. And so we are projecting anger onto that situation because that's an easier and more familiar emotion for us. However, very often what needs to happen is that we just need to recognize the feeling that we're experiencing, no matter why, and just recognize that our boundaries, our comfort, our sense of safety is incredibly important, and so valuing that is really helpful. Septarian is a great stone for boundaries, for grounding, for centering as well. Especially wanted to invite this in for the boundaries. Your boundaries are very valuable. They are important, and you are worthy of expressing those boundaries. And then I think probably the stone I would most recommend in this situation might be a smoky quartz, aligning the above and the below, that we have an understanding of the darkness, we're choosing to see the light, we're balancing both aspects. Smoky quartz would be really, I think, helpful for that. I also brought out a Kumbhaba jasper, which I think could be really valuable and really helpful for this as well. And for these, if you just wanted to place one stone in the palms of your hands and just allow this energy to float in, you could even squeeze these stones. Some other kind of runners up for this that I wanted to mention are, you could rip up paper. So, obviously there are so many different things you can do. You could sketch or draw, you could write down your feelings, you could, reaching out to a friend can be really helpful. But I find that when we're in a really triggered state, sometimes that's not the best thing. But you can, I think probably some of the most common ones are going for a run, engaging in some form of exercise, doing some breath work and breathing. I would say if you're feeling very activated and angry, yoga might not be a great thing. It might be, and I'm sure there are different yoga practitioners that could show you wonderful ways of using yoga to move through anger. But for me, I like a kind of burst tilt to help pop out that energy. I had a few more that I wanted to discuss. Let me try and remember. So for the last one here, this one is, I was in theater for a very long time. I performed on stage, and it's a very kind of heightened experience, very activating experience to be on stage in front of a lot of people who have an expectation of their experience. So it can be a lot of pressure and all that kind of stuff. And one thing that we would do before we would perform, do lots of physical grounding exercises, all kinds of things I love to do with my feet to try and really stabilize, balance, and ground. A lot of leg work so that you can really start to feel that grounded energy. But if you wanted to engage in the final sort of thing that I would do for my warm-up and that my theater company would do, was to do what's called a shakeout. And we would do this before we did our performance. So what we're going to do now is just a shakeout. We're just going to shake everything out. And this is wonderful for just releasing that energy. And this is something that you don't need anything for, and you can do by yourself at any point. Okay, so we're going to start out by just shaking out our hands. Then you can shake out your feet one at a time. I can't see, but I'm shaking my feet. Okay. Now you can kind of shake your whole body. Okay. So you can dance, you can, go for a run, go for a walk, move, breathe, do a HIIT workout. You could do any of these things. But I think if you can find those things that work specifically for you, I think this can be a beautiful way to incorporate more agency into your life. This can be a beautiful way of moving through these very difficult emotions. Not only is anger is like uncomfortable for people for whatever reason, but anger can also be incredibly uncomfortable for you experiencing it. And so if you can be really kind to yourself when you're experiencing these really heightened emotions, and just say, you know what, everybody experiences anger. I'm lucky that I'm aware of what I'm feeling, and I will deal with the actual situation once I'm in a more aligned state. Right now, I'm just going to focus on becoming more aligned. And obviously, if you experience anger, kind of chronic anger or anything like that, seeing a mental health care professional is the first and best thing that you can do. But I think in the meantime, this might be really helpful. I hope that it is helpful. I hope that you've enjoyed this little session here. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video if you are. And until I see you again, be so, so well. Chakra activation, and just doing a little bit of balancing and aligning. But this is a new kind of video for me. I usually speak directly to the collective instead of the individual, so that always happens when I'm trying to do it like a perspective. Maybe your perspective on things is a little clouded at the moment. does this have kind of a funny smell? I'm